Guys doing this morning? What's up, Emily? What's up, Cassandra?
Yeah, we only have Cassandra and Emily, but hopefully somebody else will join us today.
Okay, no problem.
Morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Emily. What's up, Cassandra? How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thanks.
Good, good. How are things going for you guys?
Going well.
Yeah, going well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Thanks
should
for
be
getting up early
closing.
and getting on the call. Or maybe you're already up early. Are you guys early risers?
I am.
Right
No.
on. Mm. Well, tell me, let's maybe give it a couple minutes just in case there's anyone that hops on in a few minutes. I kind of want this to be a little more interactive.
Sure.
So tell me what's going good for you guys right now in the market and what's frustrating. Give me one of each. Emily, let's start with you.
I mean, it's good that I got in contract so fast with just a buyer that I met that day. And
Ooh, that was that recently?
yeah, it was Ryan.
Oh yeah, Ryan Brown.
Yeah, I met him at an open house and he wanted to submit an offer. So yeah, that was good. That was surprisingly way easier than I thought it would be. And and
Right.
then
Sometimes it happens like that.
yeah. And then a struggle is just, I don't know, maybe just not enough time because sometimes it's hard to catch up on leads and stuff when I'm constantly running around.
Well, you know what? One of the things that we can help with on the lending side is lead follow-up. That's one of the things that we do really well. Well, I know you guys have a little more support now. I know Kylie is on board over there and she's helping with things like that. But if you guys do have some leads that you're just having a hard time getting a hold of, you can send us a list and we can call on your behalf. We, not only my team, but we also have someone within our district that has a position that basically she does things like that to help support us. She'll call, set appointments, she'll call on behalf of realtors to follow up with, some of those leads, even if they're already pre-approved with another lender. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to get in contact with them so that you guys can convert, at the highest rate possible, right? So that's, potentially an option if you have a couple leads that you're just having a hard time or you having a hard time finding the time, send those to us and we can, we can help support you there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably take you up on that, honestly, because I have a few that I've shown multiple times and they just all of a sudden ghost me. So
Right.
and I don't have the time to just like sit there and call them and
Blow them up like 6 or 7 times
or whatever, because I'm constantly on the road.
Right. Out there showing properties. All right. Cassandra, what about you? What's how you been doing these first almost 4 months of 2022?
Actually pretty good. I mean, I'm closing on my fourth home, have a couple of buyer leads working out. I do taxes too, so my season just ended, so I'm getting back to.
You were like, hallelujah, after the 15th passed, right?
I've had 3 days of 14-hour days, so I'm just like taking a. But the only thing that seems to be the most challenging is getting people to get pre-approved, not pre-qualified, but pre-approved, because they want to go out, they want to call, they want to go out and see a house, but it's like, it's a waste of time. And most listing agents want to make sure that they're pre-approved anyways if you're going and showing the property. So just getting people to follow through. And I think it's Jessica that's on your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's really good with follow up and letting me know what's going on with the people that are
Did you have sent over?
guys. Yeah. And I really like that, because then they're not being bombarded by me and by you. So it's like, okay, she set an appointment, they missed the appointment, so I already know. And then I can follow up in a different way, like, hey, when are you going to get get your stuff over to Josh so that they can, move forward. So that's about the only thing that's really a challenge.
Gotcha. And I think you brought up a good point with the difference of it's funny, but the difference of being pre-approved and pre-qualified, right? where, I mean, it is kind of funny that there's, oh, hey, Yolanda's joining us. What's up, Yolanda? So some lenders will issue out an approval, and this is something that you guys need to be really careful with, and this kind of ties into converting at the highest level that you can, right? Meaning you get 20 leads, you want to try and close as many of those as possible, right? Same thing with me. And so a lot of times, if you are working with a buyer that is working with a different lender, be really careful and try to vet that approval as well as you can, because sometimes I've seen some come across my desk where, you know, I'll get a buyer that is working with another lender and they want to get a second opinion or what have you. And I'll look at their pre-approval letter, or I've had, you know, agents send me a pre-approval letter from another lender, and it'll literally say, I think there was one from Bank of America that was like, we have not run credit, we have not looked at income, but they're approved for, you know, $700,000, which is crazy to me, right? And to even be out shopping if you truly haven't had your credit checked, income looked at, assets looked at. So pre-qualified, that's more of like, I guess you would call it pre-approval, which we don't do. I mean, honestly, we're working more and more towards not even issuing a pre-qualified letter unless I've spoken to that person face to face, unless I've made that connection, built that relationship, whether it was in office, whether it was via Zoom. I think that just helps build so much more rapport and trust, as opposed to just being a commodity that is handing out letters and quoting rates and payments and things like that. You get to dig a little deeper with them, kind of find out their why, ask questions. And so for pre-qualified, to circle back, that's where we are truly looking at their entire financial picture, right? We're looking at credit, their debts, we're calculating their income accurately the way that the underwriters are going to calculate it. And we're looking at their bank statements, checking their deposits, making sure there aren't any large cash deposits or things that can't be used when it gets to underwriting. Because obviously our goal is to get you guys equipped with buyers that truly are going to close, so that when they do get into contract, it's a smooth process. They have a great experience with me. They have a great experience with you. And that leads to more business down the road, ideally, hopefully, right? So that's a good point. Pre-approved versus pre-qualified. If you do have buyers that are coming in with other lender approvals, truly vet that lender. Ask them, hey, do you have an automated approval through Fannie Mae, which is called DU, Desktop Underwrite, or through Freddie Mac, which is Loan Prospector? Have you verified their income? Have you gotten a verification of employment? Have you looked at their bank statements? And we're here to save some of those deals that, you know, folks get into contract and truly can't get the loan. But I want to try and help you guys be as successful as possible. So definitely vetting those approval letters is a big part, especially right now in this market, right? One of the things I wanted to touch on, I guess, today is kind of, I'll talk about the financial investment side of real estate, because I think right now with the market, which I know you guys are seeing a little bit, right? We're having rising interest rates, which most people, especially if they're first timers, they don't know really anything about rates. They just hear that they're going up. And so that automatically creates sort of a negative connotation with the market. Oh, rates are going up. Maybe it's not a good time for me to buy. Inventory is low. Maybe it's not a good time for me to buy. And I don't know if you guys are facing that sometimes, or having to kind of overcome some of those objections, because the last 2 years, it's been really, really easy, so to speak. I mean, it was easy from a perspective of there was a lot of demand and interest rates were at historic lows. So you weren't going to get a cheaper payment. The only challenge was just having to compete with multiple offers because inventory was still low. But now we're in the situation where inventory is still pretty low. Prices haven't really come down. I mean, they may start trickling down a little bit with some of this interest rate and inflation, and you know, it might be scaring some of the buyers out of the market, so it maybe won't be as competitive. But I think we're all facing the same thing, was we're trying to convert some of these leads and still show them that home ownership is beneficial, right? So one of the things I want to show you guys, let me see if I can share my screen.
Can you, yeah, I already allowed you to, okay, great.
Perfect. Okay. So here's where, this is just pulled from Freddie Mac's website for today. Here's what the national average is for 30-year fixed mortgage rates. 5.11% with a 0.8 fees in buy down or discount. And you guys know what like buy down points are, right? A little bit of extra cost that they pay to get a lower rate. Now it's the national average, and we can definitely get under that with the right scenario, someone with, you know, good credit, decent down payment, things like that. But if you kind of got middle of the road credit, you know, you're definitely looking at something in the 5s right now. Now, historically, you know, we're still looking really good. I mean, if we go back to, you know, early 2000s, 6.8% in this kind of shows you a chart here on Freddie Mac's site. 2002, 7%. 5.8 in 2003. So historically, it's not like we're the highest rates have ever been. So that's definitely something that I like to bring up to clients if they start talking about rate. But if we were to take someone, and this is the financial side that I like to sometimes explain to people when they are hesitant to look into home ownership. Right now, especially in like, you know, Tracy or even Stockton, you know, rents haven't really come down. So let's say that we have a buyer that's maybe paying, I don't know, anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 in monthly rent right now, right? And let's say that they have enough money saved, whether it's, you know, money that they've just accumulated, whether they can pull it from a 401k, or maybe even get a little bit of gifted funds to combine with their, you know, whatever they have in their checking and savings. Let's say that they're looking to purchase a $500,000 house, okay? And let's say they're putting 5% down. So 5% down is $25,000. Factor in title fees, escrow, closing costs, lender fees. Let's say that the closing costs are about 10K. So the total out of pocket for them would be $35,000 to purchase a $500,000 home. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm horrible with stocks and that's not my bag. I don't, you know, trade. And so if I have $35,000, it's going to go in some sort of really simple interest money market account. I'm not going to keep it in like a savings account, but it's going to grow at a pretty conservative, slow rate. And the reason why I say that is because most people aren't trading stocks and churning that $35,000 into, you know, $150,000, but with a home investment, you can show them how they truly can. So check this out. If we're looking at a conservative, now this shows San Joaquin County. I know Tracy's medium home price range is much higher than this, but this takes all of San Joaquin County. But on a conservative, I would say appreciation rate, and I don't see, you know, inventory issues really getting solved anytime soon. I do truly believe that if you buy a home today, 5 years from now, that house will be worth more than it is today, unless something, you know, really drastic happens. So if you took a kind of conservative appreciation rate of 5%, as you can see, obviously the last couple of years, it's been a lot higher, 9%, 7% is the projection here on this particular website. But even if we took a 5% appreciation rate per year, that would be $25,000, right, per year. Over the next 5 years, that house could potentially be worth $625,000. Now they had a $35,000 initial investment to gain that $125,000. And then when you also factor in, and I just use the national average as far as an interest rate, the principal and interest payment on a $475,000 loan is what their loan amount would be after 5% down, right? Would be $475,000. Their monthly principal and interest payment would be $2,586, not too far off from potentially what they're paying in rent. And if you factor in that over those 5 years, they're obviously going to be paying, you know, interest, but also principal. So if we were to go down here, let's say they closed on, you know, April of this year, and we were to look at April of 2027, their principal balance would then be at $436,000 from 475. So not only have they been paying towards their loan and creating more equity there, but they've also got that appreciation. So if you look at a 5% appreciation rate and their house is now worth 625, and you subtract away what their principal balance would be in 5 years, which is $436,233, they have $188,000 from a $35,000 investment. So when you kind of break it down to them like that, and most people, if they have 30,000 in their savings account, I don't think without doing something like this with a very safe real estate investment, I don't think they're going to turn that 35K into 188K over 5 years, unless they're really good with investing and, you know, get lucky on some stocks or things like that, right? Have you guys ever broke something down like that to a buyer?
Yes.
Right? And that's a pretty powerful selling tool, right? Emily or Yolanda, have you guys ever broke that down like that, kind of?
Not necessarily like that, but something, similar, yes, showing them
Similar,
some
right?
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, I do the app so it calculates everything for me because I can't be trusted with those numbers.
But I think that's something that we just still need to remember when folks start to get, I don't know, a little frustrated with the market, maybe a little buyer fatigue, or they get worried about interest rates or payments or things of that nature. Hey, if they can make that payment, if they can make that $2,500 rent payment, they can make a $3,000 payment, pay a little bit more per month for the possibility of really accelerating their life, right? I mean, buying a home, creating that equity, creating that appreciation, paying down your principal balance, maybe a little bit of a tax write-off, depending on what bracket you fall in. I think those are powerful things. And once you kind of break that down to someone, I think it also shows that you know what you're talking about and could create a little bit more trust from an initial conversation, or maybe your second conversation with some of these online leads or internet leads or folks that really don't know you, and you have to start building that trust, right? So I guess this all ties into part of my theme today is just how can we convert at a higher level when the market gets a little tougher? And I think tools like this and taking the time to ask certain questions, asking good questions, and following up with more questions. Like, for example, Yolanda, what's some of one of the first questions you ask a new buyer when you're first meeting them and you're making that intro? Give me like 1 or 2 questions you ask them.
So like besides if they have if they've already spoken to a lender in regards
Yeah, no, I'm just
to-
talking about like as far as you're introing them and you're trying to figure out what their motivation is, what their why is.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I ask them, what their goals are, what is it that they're looking for? If something, it was ideal situation, what does that look like to them?
Right. That's a good one. If an ideal situation, what are you looking at, right?
Right. Yeah.
And maybe something like what's your time frame? Right? How soon do you want to be in a home?
Mhm.
And then let's say that the client says, well, I want to be in a home within the next 6 months. Right? Follow up. I would follow up with that. Why? Why 6 months? What's the?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, they'll tell you six. Yeah, a lot of times they'll. Go ahead.
Oh, what was that? You broke up.
Yolanda,
Oh no,
you
I
still
said,
there?
a lot of times too, they do tell you 6 months, but in reality, it's also a lot of times it's a lot sooner than that.
Oh, the majority of the time, I'd say, right? I mean, we get that all the time where it's, I don't really want to, have my credit checked right now, or I was just kind of wanted to see what some numbers would be like. And then when we can convince them to, hey, look, let's take a real application, let's really see what you qualify for. The majority of the time when I've gotten someone that was kind of on the fence about just the whole process and they were just kind of flirting with the idea, but once you give them like, hey, you know what, we took your application, we had a loan planning session, a mortgage planning session where I go over numbers and say, hey, you're actually qualified for, you know, 550,000. Here's what your payment's going to be. More often, and then we get that information back to you guys. More often than not, now their antennas are up. Now they're looking more and more, and now it's more of a reality for them, right?
Absolutely.
So that's good. Let me ask you guys, right now, and let's say maybe the last month, because this is, you know, what on average, how many offers do you think you're having to put in for the average buyer, right? Maybe not someone that's looking for like $1 million homes and things like that, or multi-million-dollar homes, but your average buyer that's maybe in that medium range between, you know, 500 to 600,000, 650. What would you say, how many offers on average are you having to put in for them to get an accepted offer?
3 to 4.
3 to 4. What about you, Cassandra and Emily?
I was gonna say 3 to 4 also.
Yeah, I would agree with that because of that price range here in San Joaquin County and people coming in from the Bay Area. And yeah, I would agree.
Cool. And so I think also what I'm doing on the lending side, and maybe this could help on the real estate side, is when we first are meeting with these folks, not necessarily scaring them away, but also giving them kind of like a realistic expectation of what to expect when they're out here in the market, right? That it may take 3, 4, maybe 6, 7 offers for them to find that house they want. And maybe the house isn't perfect, right? I mean, this is, you guys could probably tell me more about that. Like, how do you manage those expectations with those buyers? Because I think if you're coming at it from a perspective of like, oh yeah, we just need to get you approved and we'll find you a house and it'll be lickety split, like creating, and I've there are some agents that I work with that have kind of taken that approach. And I'm like, hey guys, like they're going to get frustrated when they, you know, put a couple offers in and they're not getting the, you know, the offer accepted. That could create a false sense of what the market really is, right?
Absolutely. I just went through one right now with Ruby. You know, we went through, I think, 2 offers. One of those offers was like basically kind of like her dream home. She was devastated. You know, she was devastated when she didn't get it. And so it's kind of like just, you know, calming them down and just reminding them like, this is the market. This is normal. Like, we just got to keep going. The right one will happen. You know, and it's getting through that. And then fingers crossed, right? Hopefully, you know, usually they do. It usually does. Like, I mean, not even 2 weeks later, we found one that was almost identical to that dream home. We actually got it cheaper. So it all works out in the end. It's just kind of, you know, pushing through is what I tell them. We just got to push through. It will happen. And I think that it goes back to a lot of trust in us, right? It's trusting us in what we're telling them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're trusting us with a huge decision in their life, right? I mean, for the average person buying a home, for the majority of people, buying a home is the largest purchase they'll ever make and the largest amount of debt they'll ever take on if they're taking out a decent sized mortgage. So, you know, what I try to do is let them know, like, hey,
You know,
we're here for you. We're professionals. Like, we're going to walk you through this, but you know, buying a home is not easy, right? Getting a loan is not easy. Sometimes it is, sometimes it could be really smooth, but sometimes, hey, there's going to be documentation you have to get us. We're going to ask a lot of personal questions. We're going to be looking at your bank statements. So really setting that expectation up front really, really helps create that more balanced, positive home buying experience, which is what I think we're all trying to do so that we can make sure these folks are, number one, happy with our service, they get what they want, and then they refer us other business. That's like the main goal too, right? Well, what else do we want to go over here? Oh, here was something that I heard recently that I thought is kind of a reminder in life, but also in this market, is to outlast the temporary. Everything in life is pretty temporary, right? Like, we're only on this planet for a certain amount of time. Our bodies are only on this planet for a certain amount of time. And just like this market, I mean, we had a great interest rate market for 2020, 2021, crazy historic, but that was temporary. And even this particular market with higher priced homes, higher interest rates, low inventory, you know, that's temporary too. As long as we stay consistent with our efforts, consistent, I feel, with building, being more relationship based with our clients as opposed to being transactional. And don't get me wrong, I know there's some people that are just very like, what can you do for me? Okay, I don't really want to talk about anything. And I think those are a little bit more few and far between. I think maybe when you're dealing with some of the online stuff, the Zillow leads, it can be a little more challenging to kind of crack through and dig a little deeper. But in a market where things get tighter, I think that's where we have to sharpen our tools a little bit and be a little more intentional with some of our conversations and just ask really good questions, right? Boring questions get boring answers. So that's kind of the mode that I've been taking, especially as a lender, right? As rates go up, we're constantly having to talk about payment and costs and competing with online lenders that we know aren't going to give them good service. There's been an oversaturation of, in my opinion, of lenders. I mean, a lot of folks have made a decent amount of money the last couple of years because rates were so low and the loan business was booming, as was the real estate business. And a lot of people got into the business that really aren't experienced and don't kind of know their guidelines. And this is a profession where you really got to know your stuff. You have to know how to get loans done. So just be kind of weary of some of these approvals that come over that aren't from Summit Funding, because they may be a little shoddy, you know.
Wow, that's a lot of information again, Josh, as always. Thanks for thanks for being here today, and we look forward to speak to you again next Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any other topics that you'd like to go over, I'm more than happy. Just let me know.
Thank you, Josh.
Will do,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Have a
All right,
great day,
guys.
everyone. Bye.
Have
Have
a
a
good
good
one.
one.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.